Coming up on Hoge and Jahns, we're getting closer and closer to this big playoff game against the Packers. We got two guests on today to break it all down. Our friend Ross Tucker joins the pod for more of the national perspective, and had to bring Kevin Fishbain back into the show for a playoff game. It's all coming up. Hoge and Jahns starts right now. What is up? Welcome in. Hoge and Jahns back with you. Wild card week. And for the first time, we welcome in Old National Bank as our new presenting sponsor just in time for the playoffs. Every play matters, whether it's on the field or in your financial life. The best teams win by delivering excellence at every level. Old National Bank, where relationships and results matter. Member FDIC. Welcome Old National Bank in. We welcome every Hoge and Jahns listener, viewer, wherever you can consume the show, into another episode, a playoff episode, Johnsy.
We don't do many of these, Adam.
No,
we have not done many of these. What do we do? What do we talk about? There's no coaching search. There's no draft capital to consider. How do we do this?
We're going to try to cover it all today. We got a big show for you. We got two guests on. We thought that, playoffs called for two guests. Ross Tucker, who you could file Ross into the category of national analysts have come around on the Bears, have come around on Caleb Williams this season. You may remember when he joined us back in August. I think he upset some of you guys. So he will atone for his sins on the show today. Kevin Fishbain, longtime guest, has probably joined us more than anybody on this program over the years. Felt fitting to bring him back on as well. Please hit the like button. Please subscribe. If you haven't done so already, do it for the playoffs. Our coverage, hopefully it's going for another month or so. But regardless, even if it ends here this week, you know where to be in the offseason. We're headed to the Super Bowl this year. You want to be subscribed to this channel, I promise you. So if you haven't done so already, and if you're just an old school podcast listener like me, please go to the YouTube channel and hit subscribe just to support us. We greatly, greatly appreciate it. Jahns, what I want...
If you're looking for some written content, go to allchgo.com, sign up, be a diehard, get my stuff, your power rankings, more stuff from Patrick and Norton, our Blackhawks, Bulls coverage, allchgo.com. Use code Jahns, Jahns. I think I spelled it right.
I think you did. We also have our insider analysis column up this morning for the diehards, so go check that out. So before we bring Ross, I just want to hit on this off the top of the show. It's been an interesting vibe the last couple of days. I don't know if you felt it, Johnsy, but I feel some anxiety in this city. It's shifted a little bit from the last Packer game where it was there was a buzz. There was a buzz all week long. We felt it. We saw it in our numbers, quite frankly. And I could feel it yesterday I didn't think about it too much Monday because they're coming off a loss. You're doing not a Victory Monday show. But yesterday I was like, all right, we're going to turn the page here. And it just, I didn't feel the buzz. I didn't feel the excitement. And I was, talking to some friends yesterday and just around where I live, and people are nervous. People are nervous. I think they're a little hesitant to go all in. I'm just curious what you're feeling, you live in the city. What are you feeling here?
I would even argue that it's been brewing. It's been developing for a few days, probably even preceding the game against the Detroit Lions to conclude the regular season. Like, this has been coming because this has been talked about for a couple weeks now. Wild card round, Bears, Packers. Now it's here. So there's definitely this nervous energy that I feel from talking to people, from the comments to really everything. I think you put it right. There's an anxiety about this. I think it's a healthy anxiety. It's an anxiety that we haven't felt in a while. And I think it's only intensified because it's the Packers in the playoffs.
So I'm not here to tell anybody how to fan at all. So maybe this is just, even speaking to myself and us as people that cover this team. Like I would just encourage. I think I get it. Everybody's afraid to lose to the Packers, and there's no doubt it would suck. But while you're here, it's Wednesday, got Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and I think by Saturday, hopefully everybody will be feeling the excitement. But the point is, we've been doing this show for a long time. We have not had many playoff games to cover. So I would just say enjoy it while it's here. Don't worry too much about the result until the result is here. Don't waste this week worrying instead of feeling the excitement, because everybody who's a sports fan, everybody listens to the show, this is where you want to be. You want to be in the playoffs. You want to have these games. You want to have these opportunities. You want to be excited about your team. And I get that they've lost 2 games in a row. They did beat the Packers in exhilarating fashion a couple weeks ago, and they're more than capable of winning this game.
I thought in 2018 there was a nervousness that transformed into a confidence, a belief that obviously transformed into, well, forget what happened in that game in 2018 to finish that season. But I'm willing to bet come kickoff in Soldier Field, this nervousness, this energy, is going to be an undeniable buzz. That place is going to be like shaking with energy, an energy that we haven't felt really, in my opinion, since that 2018 playoff game against the Eagles. And I imagine it's going to be times 2 or 3 or 4 because it's the Packers.
Which is another reason, and I know by Saturday, I'm going to sound like a broken record on this one, because I know I'm going to bring it up on Friday too. But I just feel like getting off to a good start is so important in this game. Because with this anxiety too, if something goes wrong early, that the building could be deflated real quickly. You know what I mean? And so, but if you get off to that start, you get off to a lead, that place is going to be rocking for 3 straight hours. Johns, there might be some snow. I don't know if you've looked at the forecast. Now, it doesn't look like it's going to be like a snowstorm, but it's definitely going to snow at some point Saturday. It might be snowing during the tailgate. It seems to be, if you look at the forecast, it seems to be changing a little bit. Is it going to last through the night? Is it not going to last? But we could have a little bit of accumulation on the field. I don't think it's going to be a full snow game, but that would make it a little bit more fun too.
I love snow games, especially at this time of year, and I haven't covered many of them. I've seen quite a few on TV, whether it's in Buffalo or Green Bay. There's something special to me about football played in flurries. When you could see it, it's cold, you could see the breath. Like, that's playoff football to me. And I know Ben Johnson, he agrees with me.
What game was it this year that there were snow flurries? There was a game this year that it was the Giants game.
Yeah.
Where, it was like, it wasn't accumulating, but watching the All 22 film throughout the week, it was awesome, because it was just like there you could just see the snow the entire time. It looked like watching film in a snow globe. And I'm like, I love this. This is perfect.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. It's it goes back to playing kid, and when you're a kid playing Madden. What's the one setting you put on weather?
Oh, yeah.
It's never the rain.
No, the rain sucks.
Who wants to play in the rain?
I will say this, I don't think I want a lot of snow though. I don't want it to affect the game too much. I think you could argue that
you want to see some explosive offensive football.
Right, exactly. Let's not get bogged down by too much weather. All right. Ross Tucker. Love having him on the show. Does a great job. He was actually on the call of the Eagles game on Tuesday, or on Tuesday. They definitely didn't play Tuesday. Sunday, he was on the call of the Eagles game, which side by side with the Bears game decided the 2 seed. He does a great job on the Ross Tucker football podcast, and we always like having him on. So let's bring in Ross Tucker to the show as we talk about a Bears-Packers playoff game. All right, let's bring Ross Tucker back onto Hoge Jahns. And Ross, always love talking ball with you. You had the Eagles game for CBS on Sunday, and I thought it was super interesting how they handled that. In hindsight, they could have gotten the 2 seed because the Bears lost. You're in Philly. You were at that game. You were calling it. What did you think about how the Eagles handled that, and did they do the right thing?
I do think they did the right thing, and I don't think, looking at it in hindsight is the right way to go about it. I think you have to go about your process. It's interesting because the day before the game in the production meetings, I asked Eagles head coach Nick Sirianni, I said, if you controlled the number 2 seed, like if they were in Chicago's situation, would you play your guys? And he said, maybe, but I don't have to deal in those hypotheticals, and he's right. And I think that's the big thing. I'm sure they wanted the number 2 seed. Obviously, they really wanted to win the game. But I think the lack of control was probably the thing that bothered them the most. And quite frankly, they still have a really talented team and a good team. I think they've just played so many games, so many playoff games in recent years, that when you watch them, their offensive line is not what it was last year. And that's because, in particular, Landon Dickerson and Cam Jurgens are really beat up. Lane Johnson hasn't played in a long time. Mailata is even a little bit banged up. And then on defense, after the Bears game, when the Eagles played the Bears, Jalen Carter had to get procedures on both of his shoulders. You guys were rolling him all over the field, and then he had those procedures, didn't play for 3 games. So I think that they believe, and maybe rightfully so, that they're good enough and they're talented enough. It doesn't really matter necessarily who they play if they are full strength. I mean, obviously, they'd probably rather have the easiest path they can, but they'd rather make sure that those guys are as healthy as possible. And I would just say, as a former player, I agree with that. Towards the end of any season, I think 3 years in a row, I started, towards the end of the year. And if you would have said, Ross, would you rather be a little taller or faster or stronger? I'd say, can you just let me feel a little bit better? And if they said to me, hey, we can play this opponent or that opponent, I honestly would have told you, I don't care. I just want to feel as good as possible for the playoff stretch. So I think they did the right thing. Obviously, they had a unique scenario where the Bears somewhat surprisingly lost, and the Eagles, I think they still thought they would be able to get it done with Tanner McKee and the backups, but they didn't.
So what do you think of the Packers resting their players then? I know Ben Johnson's quote from after the Lions game about, we play our players, we play football, is kind of going crazy in Wisconsin right now after the Packers just rested their starters, including Jordan Love. So how do you feel about their decision-making heading into the playoffs? Is it similar to the Eagles?
So first of all, I don't really understand why Ben Johnson would say that. I don't see how that benefits you. It's almost like when Sirianni said to me, I don't have to deal in those hypotheticals. If you're Ben Johnson, why would you put a statement out there like that does 2 things? One is there are some people in Philadelphia that thought maybe he was talking about them. So they kind of took offense to that. Obviously, Green Bay, those folks think that it was a shot at them. And also, like Ben Johnson, so like if you had the number 1 seed, would you have played all your guys? I don't know. I mean, if you were in if you were locked into the 7th seed, would you have played your guys? I don't think that makes sense at all. If you were locked into 1 or locked into 7 to play your guys, I don't agree with it at all. So not really sure about Ben Johnson's comment there. He's obviously had a terrific season as a head coach, as a play caller, all those things. But I thought the Packers absolutely did the right thing. They have also been banged up and beat up. They're not going to get Micah Parsons back, but this is a grind of a season. It is a long season. And when you allow those guys to kind of not only take a physical break, but a mental break, they know they're not playing their top guys, Josh Jacobs with his knee and Jordan Love, and just kind of, take a reset. I can promise you they came out this week in practice refreshed, ready to roll, and they're going to be flying around on Saturday night. That doesn't mean they're going to beat the Bears, but I do think that's a distinct advantage in this game for Green Bay, that their guys got the week off and the Bears did not.
Well, and it is super interesting because the Bears could have sat their guys too, and I understand why they didn't. I think they're in a different position than the Eagles and Packers, but you didn't sit them, and you got a little bit more banged up CJ Gardner-Johnson in particular. Now you might get Kyler Gordon back this week. We'll see. Don't know if he'll be 100%. Probably won't be. But how do you look at this matchup now, considering one team did get that rest in, and you are coming from it from the player standpoint? You said yourself, you love that physical and mental reset to feel a little bit better. The Bears are not in that situation. How do you look at this matchup now between these two teams?
And by the way, I would have done everything all three of those teams did. If I were the Bears, the 2 seed, and could have, controlled my destiny as the 2 seed, I would have probably played my guys. If I were the Eagles, I would have rested them. If I were the Packers, I would have rested them. I think everybody, quite frankly, did what I would have chosen in those situations. But now it's a short week. And I know it's a short week for the Packers too, but their guys didn't play. Yeah. And that was a physical, tough game against the Lions. The Lions, not surprisingly, with Dan Campbell, came out, gave them everything they had. I do think, like the last 2 matchups, I think it'll be a close, competitive game. I think it'll come down to the end. I think these are pretty evenly matched teams. I guess I wonder if, the Bears potentially run out of steam, run out of gas toward the end of this game, and the Packers are the fresher, healthier, more rested team because of what they did on Sunday up in Minnesota.
Well, one of the things that I'm really curious how plays out in this game is, as much as we talk about the quarterbacks, and we'll talk about the quarterbacks because Jordan Love's coming back and Caleb's playing his first playoff game, the Bears' running game has slipped a little bit the last couple weeks. However, they ran all over the Packers in both meetings, and the last time you saw the Packers starters on the field, Derrick Henry was running all over them in the way that if I was a Ravens fan, I'd be like, why the hell weren't we doing this all season? So I think, honestly, from my perspective, Ross, I'm curious how you look at it. To me, this is more about the Bears reestablishing the run game, being the team that they've really been since their bye week, back in week 5. And if they do that, they should be in pretty good shape, because as much as we talk about the quarterbacks, I really feel like that's Ben Johnson's identity. That's what this team's identity has been, is running the football successfully.
No question. Love the 2-headed monster of Swift and Monangai. And that's a really good point about the Ravens and Derrick Henry and the way they ran over and through the Packers, even when they were playing their guys. I have a tough time picturing the Bears winning the game if they're not running it pretty successfully. It seems like that's something you can get done against this Packers defense. And I will also say this. I keep an eye on Caleb Williams running in this game. I know it's been more scrambles, but it's the playoffs now. I can tell you right now, I'd be surprised if on Sunday you didn't see Jalen Hurts and the Eagles against the Niners with 3 to 5 design quarterback runs. I think that Ben Johnson's probably been saving some of those for this exact moment to get a playoff win, to beat the Packers. And so I think, they don't need it typically. I mean, their run game has been so good without it, but man, it adds a lot. It so helps the angles for the offensive line. If Caleb just pulls it and runs it a couple times in the design quarterback run game, this would be an awesome week for Ben Johns to do a little bit more of that.
Ross, like last time we had you on, we talked about Caleb and his development. Season's now over. We finally have a Bears quarterback who reset the records book. Eric Kramer's record is no longer there from 1995. How do you feel about his regular season? And then what are you most optimistic about in terms of his play leading into the postseason?
Well, I feel really good about his regular season. And I thought it was interesting. I don't know if you guys saw the clip or not, but it got a lot of attention where Greg Cosell was on my show last week, the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, and he said Caleb Williams is going to be really, really good. He just thinks it's the perfect marriage between Caleb and Ben Johnson. That was obviously coming off that 49ers game where Caleb did a lot of really positive things. And then, of course, all the Bears fans coming out of the woodwork to just crush me. That had to be devastating with how much Ross hates Caleb Williams. That had to be crushing. By the way, I never even met Caleb Williams. I'm just going by what I had seen from his rookie year. And quite frankly, what I had heard. And I would say that's the only thing that probably still gives me a little bit of pause is like when I see Joe Buck say that Caleb Williams missed or skipped or whatever Joe Buck said, both production meetings with Troy Aikman and Joe Buck. That's the one that's still, I guess I just look at top 5, top 10 type quarterbacks and the guys that I was around, and not everybody has to be Tom Brady. I get that. But that's difficult for me. You know, when you think about the offseason stuff with his dad and, you know, his dad telling Seth Wickersham that they tried to go to another team and then now he's still missing meetings. Some of that stuff, you know, piggybacks off things I had heard, you know, last year during the season or even in the offseason, which is why I still am a little bit hesitant. What I will say is I was wrong about some things. I mean, I can't believe how much better of a job he's done not taking sacks. And he's definitely a better athlete than I thought he was and that he looked like to me his rookie year. Those are the big things. I think really, if you're a Bears fan, the most encouraging thing is, doesn't it still feel like there's a lot more there? I mean, it still feels like,
yeah,
you know, with some of the throws he's missed, it feels like he could have a 40. And I know people talk about 4,000 yards all the time. Feels like he could have a 4,500 yard season pretty easily. I mean, you know, they've been run heavy in a lot of the games, and rightfully so. But some of these, with Ben Johnson and the play action, some of these big explosive passes that they're able to get off of play action, it is awesome. I mean, it really, I think it does. It's funny because I thought of him in college as just being this gun RPO guy, but man, with his release and the velocity he can put on the ball, and I think cleaning up the read with some of the play action stuff, he could really thrive. I mean, he already kind of is.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good point. We've been talking about that, obviously, with him coming up short on 4,000. He had the most yardage dropped this year. Everybody has drops, we get it, but he did lead the league in having receivers drop the most yards. Plus, he had his own misses, plenty of misses every single game, plays here and there. It felt like there was probably anywhere between like 30 and 70 yards left off the table every single game. I'm sure every quarterback feels that way, but it does feel like he can get over 4,000 pretty soon, if not, you know, probably next year, honestly.
Yeah, and the other thing I'll say is, like, if you remember a year ago, the Thanksgiving Day game, right? I don't know what he was trying to do. You know, everybody blamed Eberflus and not calling the timeout, but they're trying to do the right thing. So I had some issues with his, you know, like FBI, they call it, football intelligence, and some of the things I had seen. The flip side is this year, he's clutch. I mean, he seemingly plays his best at the end of games when it matters the most. And I believe that that's a real thing. You know, like I think there are some guys that rise to the occasion and play their best late in games that matter, and other guys that don't. It's just not their strength. And so if you're a Bears fan, that might be the two things that are most encouraging is that he seemingly plays his best when the chips are down. Maybe you'd want him to start a little bit earlier in some of these games, but plays the best when the chips are down. And also that it just seemed like there's a lot more there still to be had. Like I'd be unbelievably encouraged for what year 2 under Ben Johnson could look like.
So let's take a look at the full NFC playoff picture here. As you look at this, it feels pretty wide open, honestly, on the AFC side too. That being said, you look at like the odds to make the Super Bowl. Bears are on the lower end. I think we sort of get it too. But realistically, like, how do you see this playing out? Who do you view as the favorites, and how far do you think the Bears could realistically go?
So I feel pretty strongly about this. In the AFC, I kind of think, and I said this on my show, I think the winner of the Bills-Jags game is going to the Super Bowl. I think the Jags are way better than people realize. I think the Bills are the Bills. I think it's a shame that those two teams have to play against each other on Sunday and that one of them has to lose and not even win a playoff game. Because I can already hear it now. If the Bills lose, it's going to be like, oh, my gosh, no Lamar, no Mahomes. no Burrow, and you still can't win it. And if the Jags lose, people that don't realize the Jags are good, see, we told you they're not good. Like we told you that they're not legit. In the NFC, I think the most likely scenario would be a Rams Seahawks rematch. Now, depending on how the seeding unfolds, right, that could happen in the divisional round and not in the NFC Championship game. But the Seahawks have a bye, and the Rams have as close to a bye as you can get in the first round by playing the Carolina Panthers. So both those teams are almost, in my mind, already in the divisional round, whereas the Bears, the Eagles, the Niners, the Packers, they're all going to have to really earn it against another pretty good team. So that already gives the Rams and the Seahawks a leg up. And then they're still probably the two best teams. You know, if you look at the entire body of work, if you watch them play, they're probably the two best teams. That doesn't mean, you know, Philly or one of these other teams can't beat them. But those are the teams I would have the most faith in right now.
Ross, before we let you go, we have to ask you about some of the head coaching moves out there. Number one, what did you think about the Ravens' decision to let John Harbaugh go? And then which team, if you're, I don't know, John Harbaugh or any other hot candidate this year, would be most appealing to you?
Ooh, the second part of that question is really good because I haven't looked at it and studied it that closely to get to the levels of how many draft picks do they have this year and next year, you know, how much salary cap space and stuff. I'd really be going off of what I think of ownership and the quarterback probably, because like off the top of my head, I know after that Travis Hunter trade that the Browns have a bunch of draft choices the next couple of years. And the Browns went ahead and, you know, they had a terrific draft class. So that seems promising, but who's your quarterback? You know, do you really believe in Jackson Dart in New York? That would scare me because I just don't think he's going to last. I mean, he's too reckless. I would not want to put my livelihood in Jackson Dart's hands or his head, I guess, because of his. I love it as a lineman, like his aggressive style, but that part of it is concerning to me. I think in Tennessee, they have a lot of cap space. They have a bunch of draft choice. I think it depends on how you feel about Cam Ward. As it relates to Harbaugh, I'm not surprised. You know, you'd heard enough stuff from people there. One person said to me that it felt like it would either be Lamar Jackson would be back or John Harbaugh would be back. It's tough in that scenario to not go with the, you know, two-time MVP in his prime. And I know there's some reports out there that Lamar Jackson was falling asleep in meetings and blah, blah, blah. But that's tough. And it felt like the Ravens were kind of going the wrong way. You know, AFC Championship game loss, divisional round loss. They don't even make the playoffs this year. And I can see why they felt like it was time to make a change there, which is why they did. But that makes the coaching search. There's no like Ben Johnson this year. You know, there's almost no even Vrabel, who was out for a year and everybody kind of knew he'd be a great candidate the next year. The best candidates are the guys that just got fired. Like, yeah. I think Stefanski's an awesome head coach. I think John Harbaugh is a really good head coach. And I think if those guys won it, they will get another job immediately. What other openings am I missing? The Raiders.
Cardinals.
Listen, there's a reason why these jobs are open, right? You know? Well, I think the best job is the Ravens.
Yeah.
Give me Lamar Jackson. I have a dream scenario where Harbaugh takes the Browns job and Stefanski takes the Ravens job, and it's like a sister wives scenario.
That would be interesting. A little bit of a trade there. All right, we've been talking about future fans on this show even before we started having you on, but you talk about it better than we do. It's a great gift. It's something we've gifted to our own kids, and if you're somebody listening to this show that has kids, you probably want your kids to like football too. And so if you're struggling with that, you need to listen up right now.
Well, and listen, if you're any business out there and you're struggling even a little bit, you should seriously consider advertising on this show. You know why I keep coming back on the show? Because when I come on and mention futurefans.com, a ton of people go to futurefans.com and buy it. So I don't know how many advertisers you guys have or how that's going, but I can tell you that advertising with you guys absolutely works, which is why I keep coming back on the show, because I invested in futurefans.com. A, because I love football, but B, I'm super passionate about growing the game. And I see like my daughters or my nephews, and they don't want to sit there and watch the game. They want to be on their iPad playing these stupid games. And I don't know about you guys, but like, I remember what it was like I remember distinctly sitting with my dad on the couch watching the Fog Bowl against the Bears. And like, we watched every second as much as we could through the fog. And like, I'm 46. I was 9 when that happened. The fact that I remember being in the living room with my dad for 3 hours, like talking, this is crazy, the fog. Like, they're not going to remember what they did on their iPad when they were 9 years old. You know what I mean? Like, they're going to remember the time they spent with you, their dad or their uncle or their grandpa or their aunt or their mom or whatever. So if you're trying to figure out a way for your 5-year-old, your 8-year-old, your 10-year-old to really understand football and get into it, the guys at futurefans.com have cracked the code. And especially, like, you have a great head coach in Chicago. You have a star quarterback. Like, the time is now. This is the best time to be a Bears fan for a long time. Get engaged, futurefans.com. It's like $60. You give it to them. You're basically giving yourself a gift of having a lifelong fandom and a lifelong quality time with any of the children in your life for years to come. It's called futurefans.com, futurefans.com. And everybody should interview with these guys because their show kicks some serious butt in terms of return on investment.
Ross, there's one sponsor in particular I know you just made very happy, because this is the first show that Old National Bank is the presenting sponsor of for us. So I'm sure you just made them very happy. We do thank you, Katie, for throwing that up on the screen. We do love Future Fans. Check it out, futurefans.com. We also love Ross Tucker and the Ross Tucker Football Podcast. So make sure you go check that out and subscribe over there as well. For great football conversation, great guests all week long throughout the year. Ross, thanks so much, man.
Of course, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
All right, Johnsy, a lot of good stuff there. I'm sure some people will still be a little bit upset with the Caleb Williams.
I think you have to understand where Ross is coming from. He works in the media now, and he values his time in production meetings. You have to take that into account. I'm sure that's where Joe Buck and Troy Aikman are coming from, especially that they've been doing this for, I don't know, how long? How many years have they been on the call for Monday Night Football? Quite a bit.
Right. Yeah, and that's the last thing we want to be talking about right now before a playoff game. But I do think it is sort of a sidebar to the season. And I don't really know which games ESPN still has coming up in the playoffs or if they have any more, but whatever the next time is they call one of the games, it's going to come up again. I don't really know the full story about what happened there. I'm sure there's always two sides of the story, and maybe the story is Caleb was working out with teammates. And
yeah, I think that was the first time, like Caleb explained to us, that he tried to call him back.
Yeah.
No answer.
So no, I also
worked both ways.
I also think Ross has a point that as the face of the franchise, you got to prioritize sometimes stuff you don't necessarily feel like is the priority in the moment. But I also think, like, and I bring this up a lot, sometimes we forget that these guys are in their young 20s. And I try to think back to myself as, what is Caleb, 23 now? Right? Like, everybody, even me now, about to turn 40, has still some growing up to do, right? So you just learn and you mature in all different ways. I don't think this is the end of the world, and I think and I think in a lot of ways, instead of nitpicking, probably one regrettable thing that happened this year, it could be way worse. And B, I think Caleb's come a long way in a million different things. On the field, off the field, how he's taking coaching, all this stuff. And that's how it should go when you're in your second year in the NFL. You get better on and off the field. You learn things, life, football, all kinds of different stuff. And there's going to be mistakes made along the way. There's going to be more mistakes made without a doubt. And I just don't think it's that. I don't think it's that big of a deal.
Ben Johnson, his coach, described him as a considerably or significantly different quarterback now than when he started with him all the way in the offseason. That in itself is probably the most important thing you should take from this season is the growth on the field and off it, working with Ben Johnson in those one-on-one meetings. I mean, who knows? Maybe he doesn't have time for Joe Buck because he's spending more time with Ben Johnson. I take that. If you're the Bears, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, appreciate Ross coming on, and also really appreciate the endorsement for our advertisers. That's always helpful. So yeah, get in contact with us if you want to listen to what Ross has to say and come sponsor the program. Good day for Old National Bank. Also a good day for Xfinity and Mack Weldon, which we got to tell you about as well. Kevin Fishbain's coming up next. We're going to do numbers to think about with Kevin. And, this is a high-profile guest we're talking about, Illinois Sports Writer of the Year. So don't go anywhere. But first,
Adam, what if you could have reliable and intelligent Wi-Fi? And what if you could keep it at the same price for 5 years? That's the Xfinity 5-year price guarantee. Imagine Wi-Fi that makes everything in your home work together, that finds and fixes problems before you even notice them. Gosh, I could use this. Yeah, I think I actually have it. Like super intelligent Wi-Fi with a sixth sense. And that's, lets you stream the game, even the whole family's online. All of your devices working in perfect harmony for 5 full years. Here's the best part. No annual contracts, no hidden fees, and Xfinity's best equipment is included. Take it from me. A lot can change in 5 years. Championships are won, records are broken, coaches are fired, I think. Dreams grow bigger. But your Wi-Fi, it should stay reliable, and the price should stay put. Lock in your price and unlock the possibilities with Xfinity. Learn more at Xfinity.com. Xfinity, imagine that. Select plans only. Restrictions apply.
Johnsy, we give up comfort every day. Don't let style be another reason. On Sunday, I was wearing these navy blue pants to tailgate. Got a couple compliments. A couple people asked me about them because they were a little bit different.
Ooh,
they were technically jogger style pants, but they were like dressy enough to wear on the show for the day. And they were navy blue, so they kind of fit our color scheme and all this stuff. And I said, well, guess what? They're Mack Weldon pants, and you can use code CHGO to get 25% off if you want to check them out. Mack Weldon's Ace collection makes it effortless to put together a look while feeling truly comfortable at the same time. Their new Ace line, inspired by their best-selling sweatpants, combines everyday comfort with long-lasting and confident looks. You can upgrade your collection for the new year with new bomber jackets, half zips, sweats, crew necks, and more at MackWeldon.com, and you'll get 20% off your first order of $125 or more with code ALLCITY. Check it out. Mack Weldon, it's not flashy, it's just classic, always in style, made for the world's most comfortable performance materials. Mack Weldon's Ace collection, comfortable anywhere. Go to MackWeldon.com, get 20% off your first order of $125 or more with promo code ALLCITY. That's MackWeldon.com, code ALLCITY. It is time to bring in Kevin Fishbain back to Hoge Jahns, the Fishman.
The Illinois Sports Writer of the Year for the second time in 3 years.
Does anyone else even apply for that? Like, what?
I think you beat out Greenberg this year. Right?
I did get a very nice congratulatory tweet from Tom Fornelli, who said, like, was anybody else up for this?
No, congrats, it is well deserved. Of course, everybody knew about the first one because, Matt Eberflus gave you the shout out on the radio. So is Ben Johnson going to do the same thing? Is the big
Absolutely
question.
Not. And actually, based on what happened to Eberflus, I would suggest he not do that.
Yeah. Well, all right. Well, it is well deserved, and congratulations. It's a great honor. And with your breaking in with Kevin Fishbain podcast, it's Jeff Joniak week apparently.
Well, I was going to ask you guys, what's a bigger accomplishment, winning that award or convincing Jeff Joniak to go on my podcast to talk about him?
You could make a hard argument that that's harder.
Yeah, I would say the latter.
I think I probably started nagging him about it in June.
Yeah.
And we finally made it happen.
Yeah.
Did you always have this week in mind? When did this week come to?
We recorded this. We recorded it the week of Bears Packers Part 1. Actually, is when we recorded it. And at the time, I thought about running it ahead of Bears Packers Part 2, but then I kind of liked the idea of him being number 40. I think you guys were 20, and Potsy was 10. I ended up I couldn't continue the Chicago theme for the 10s at 30. I don't remember why. So I was like, all right, he could be 40, and if the Bears make the playoffs, that would sync up well. So it lined up, and folks can go check out. You guys can help me out with this,
okay,
and then I'll stop talking about my podcast.
Sure.
I'm told I need more YouTube subscribers. So
Yeah,
this is
where say the things that Hoge says all the time.
This is where I need the Hoge Jahns listeners, at least the ones that like me, to go to youtube.com/@breaking in with Kevin Fishbain, hit subscribe,
and then that like button.
Hit the like button. And subscribe, rate and review. Do all those things. Help Kevin.
Yeah.
And also do that for this show if you haven't for some reason. So please do. Thank you.
And I will reciprocate by telling a funny story that I posted about the award yesterday, and I got a text from an ex-girlfriend who said, "Congratulations. By the way, what's this thing about you being called Fishman?"
Nice. Very nice. It's growing.
Well, it's the movement. And it's working. I like it.
So
she shouldn't be that surprised. I mean, your last name's Fishbane.
Yes. In her defense, nobody had called me it until it became a thing on this show.
Okay.
This was a long time ago, so she was a little confused. Yeah. And I responded, "Back off, I'm married with children."
Ah.
Yeah. Did you really?
No.
Oh,
that'd be great. All right.
Okay, Fishman. Next question.
Like to get us off the rails early.
No. That's what we need to do that sometimes. We don't do that enough on this show anymore, or sometimes we do. Anyway, I'm happy for Joniak that he gets to call a playoff game this week, and I'm happy for all of us that we get to cover a playoff game this week, and most importantly, our listeners that get to consume a Bears a playoff game. It is interesting though. We talked a little bit about it off the top of the show. I sense like a nervousness in this city this week that is, I'm just like comparing it to the last Bears Packers week. Like I don't feel the buzz. Am I crazy? Am I like, I'm not even just going off. We have a pretty good sense of this on our shows. Or CHO Bears is always live. And I was talking to some guys at just James's basketball practice last night. I think it's just like a nervous energy that is preventing the buzz from reaching a level that it felt like it was a couple weeks ago. So maybe it's just because they lost a couple games in a row. I'm not sure, but are you sensing that same thing, Kevin?
Yes, 100%. I think the loss on Sunday has something to do with it. I do think there is this nervousness of fans realizing what the offseason will be like in their worlds if the Bears lose to the 7 seed Packers, even if it's like favored to happen by Vegas odds. Yeah. I think fans, and we all get that. And you're right. It's so funny, Hoge. Like you bring up that Bears Packers game a couple of weeks ago. Oh my God, the buzz all week for that game was crazy. And I do think there is a very much, oh gosh, we cannot lose this game. And it's funny. On Monday morning, I host a live room at the Athletic where, Bears fans pop in and ask questions. all the questions I got on Monday morning were about the off season. Everybody, like, they were asking, like, who could get traded, who could get cut, could the Bears get Max Crosby, like, what's the cap situation, who could get restructured, like, who can they get to help the defense? Nobody asked anything about the first home playoff game in 7 years.
Wow.
I think that's everybody's default setting where they where they have to turn that off. They're like, oh, we have more football to watch and consume. So let me ask you. So go ahead, Kev.
No, in Bears world, when the season ends, that's what regular season ends. That's what you're talking about is what are you going to do in the offseason?
So we've been having this debate since Monday. We talked about it in our column even today on allchgo.com. So let me ask you, Kev, Fishman, do the Bears need to beat the Packers this weekend in order for this season to be considered a success?
No, they don't. But I understand why there will be a lot of consternation if they don't, because there's, every time I've talked to you guys this season, and you guys have talked about this a lot all year, is this outside perception that the Bears are frauds. And, I think that they showed in the end of the season that they are obviously not. They obviously can contend with anybody in the league. But if you lose 3 in a row, including to the Packers at home to end the season, I think all those things get dredged back up. And I understand, but like, you have to put in the perspective of, if I told any Bears fan on September 1st that your team will win the division, win 11 games, host the Packers in a playoff game at Soldier Field, everybody would take that. And they would not think twice about that being the result. I think we've all seen Caleb Williams' progress. We've all seen what Ben Johnson has instituted. And we've all seen, like, what Luther Burden could be, Colston Loveland, Ozzie Trapillo. Like, there's all these things that they have, this foundation that's been built. And next year's obviously an incredibly important year to make sure they do what this franchise can't do, which is sustain things. But I understand it's going to be so hard for anybody to believe that. But no, if they lose, it doesn't wipe any of those things away. But I understand why people will be pretty frustrated if that's how the season ends.
Yeah, I look at it more like, it just sort of accelerates the timeline on some things. Like, there's going to be, as Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams and this pairing continues to get evaluated over time, like, there's going to be a certain benchmarks they are going to have to reach, and one of those was Eric Kramer's record. Check that box. Another one was 4,000 yards. Didn't check that box. So now that's something we're talking about next year. And this one's a big one. I mean, to me, this one matters more. It's taking back the Packers-Bears rivalry, which, I put it in the column this morning. They haven't won 3 out of 4 in this rivalry since 07-08. Well, you can get that done in emphatic fashion on Saturday night with a win over the Packers and claim that you're starting to turn this thing back. Whereas if you don't, it's another storyline next year, right? Like, you came out and challenged Matt LaFleur in your opening press conference, and you lost 2 out of the 3 games, including a playoff game, to that team after saying you enjoy beating them twice a year. That's okay. I like putting pressure on yourself and things like that, but you got to deliver at the same time too.
Yeah, I wonder also with the kind of perception issue is because the Bears can't sustain success and haven't since the 80s, you could argue that maybe this is their best chance to make a run, because you have no idea what's going to happen next year. You just look at the Commanders, just look at the 2019 Bears, look at the 2023 New York Giants and see what that's happened to that franchise since they made the playoffs in Dayball's first year. You can go down the line.
Ben Johnson was on a few years ago that had a 17-point lead in the NFC Championship game.
Exactly. Now you wonder about what the Lions window is. Like, these windows are short. This franchise has experienced that when you look at 01, 18, 10, like, they just haven't been able to do it. So you can sit there and be like, well, this league's tough. The schedule's going to be tougher next year. All those things. Like, this is the opportunity when you've got this kind of little magic on your side to make a run. So I understand, yeah, if they lose first round, that could wipe that stuff away. If you think, oh boy, if they go 8-9 next year, we missed our shot.
Yeah, there's so many questions. Where are you just in terms of when you're evaluating this game? We've already covered 2 of these Bears-Packers games. What are your reasons for optimism? What are your reasons for pessimism? How far are you down that line just in terms of making that prediction eventually later this week?
I have a lot more reasons to be pessimistic. Do you want me to run through those?
Go.
No.
Jordan Love, Josh Jacobs, and those receivers against this defense is, major concern. When we go through numbers later, I'll have a good number for you guys about the Bears defense against Jordan Love and what they've done against quarterbacks lately. But that is very concerning. I think Jeff Hafley has maybe done 6 of the 9 quarters he's faced Caleb Williams this year. He's won that battle. Yeah. And that's concerning. So yeah, I will say this. Here are the 3 biggest reasons for optimism, in my opinion. You know what? I'll make it just 2. Soldier Field and Ben Johnson. And those are 2 massive reasons for hope. And when I say Ben Johnson, I also want to kind of off that, it's the Bears run game. I think that, like X's and O's wise, I think Bears offensive line and the way that he can scheme up the run game is their best advantage in this game outside of home field. And so, but those things can all marry together. And that's where I think there's hope. And I had this thought this morning, guys. I don't know. And again, recency bias is a thing. And we all saw what happened Sunday. You do take a step back and be like, man, it is a week-to-week league. And they will not come out flat on Saturday night in a playoff game like they did on Sunday against Detroit when there wasn't a ton at stake. And you just kind of remind yourself, well, Ben Johnson is the biggest believer in it being a week-to-week league. So, that can help too. But yeah, I think the Ben Johnson effect, the home field effect, and if they can get that run game going. And I just keep thinking, guys, like, if the Bears go up 7-0, that changes everything for me. I know they've been so good at coming back in the fourth quarter stuff, and like they can rally back from anything. To me, that is like first and foremost, can you get up 7-0 at home? Because I think that's going to be very impactful if they do.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think we're going to learn a lot in the first literally 5 minutes of this game, or whenever the Bears have their first offensive possession. The first few runs, are they successful or not? Are they going for 4 yards or are they going for 1 yard? And and I think because that's going to tell you if they can control the clock, they can control possession, if they can get a lead. I think all of those things are really important. There's one Packers side of this thing that we have not talked about this week, and I think it really matters. And that is the future of Matt LaFleur and Brian Gutekunst, their general manager. Coming into this year, a new president took over in Ed policy, and he did not give those guys contract extensions. So they will have 1 year left on their contracts following this season. And he said that he wasn't going to give anybody a contract extension until the season was over. And he also doesn't believe in leaving guys kind of in a lame duck situation with 1 year left on the contract. So that, based on what Ed said back in the summer, that leads you to believe that they're going to be making some decisions here on whether or not to extend these guys or move on, which sounds crazy if you're a Bears fan, but this is how this league works. We just saw John Harbaugh get fired yesterday, and these tough situations come up. I forget where I saw this yesterday, but it was a really good point. Someone brought up that this is the third straight year the Packers are the 7 seed. Well, there didn't used to be a 7 seed. So if not for the expanded playoffs, the Packers would have missed the playoffs 4 years in a row. And
that's that without Aaron Rodgers, right? Go ahead.
Right, like that, and they didn't make it at all, Rodgers last year, and then the last 3 years with Love, they've been the 7 seed. So the point is like, now you can't like rewrite history. Obviously, there's a 7 seed now. They didn't make the playoffs, but had there not been, I don't even think this would be a decision. I like if there's only 6 teams from each conference making the playoffs, the Packers haven't made it 4 years in a row. They have to make a decision on the contracts. they're probably moving on from those guys, I'm thinking, is the point. And so I'm just really curious how a new president looks at that. And emotions always have to do with this. So if you lose to the Bears 3 out of the last 4, depending how the game goes, I think the context always matters. I just wonder, this is a long-winded question, I apologize, but I just wonder, Kevin, what you think about the idea of how much does Matt LaFleur's emotional, perhaps desperation, factor into this game?
It's a great thought, and I know you guys have had Matt Schneidman on, my colleague here at The Athletic, and he's written about this. That goes to the Ben Johnson effect too, Hoge, because I think if the game's on the line, you're looking at some of the decision-making, I would side with Ben Johnson over Matt LaFleur. Especially when you talk about all those things weighing on Green Bay, that's part of it. And you're right, though. I mean, Bears fans, I think, would be celebrating if the Packers moved on from Matt LaFleur, a guy who really dominated this rivalry from the minute he walked in the doors.
What if they hire John Harbaugh, though?
Then, yes. Yeah, then you've...
Because I'm not going to lie. We all saw like the texts or the tweets yesterday from Schefter that were like, oh, there's an unknown team that was already contacting Brian Harlan, the Chicago-based agent, by the way, that represents John Harbaugh. And I'm like trying to go through. I'm like, that could be the Bucks, maybe. I wonder if that's the Packers.
It's a good thought.
I mean, my mind went there. I don't know about anybody else.
It's a good thought. It is a fascinating kind of narrative to follow on Saturday night. And I mean, he will obviously say that he's just trying to win the game, but it's in one sense, like, do you get to that point? Like, do you guys think there's more pressure on Green Bay, even though they're the road team?
I do. I think I do.
I just feel like the Bears have had this whole season of house money.
I think the argument about that is the Bears are just year 1 into Ben Johnson, and this is what, year 7 with Matt LaFleur? Is it year 7 or year 6?
7.
7. They're well into this. This is Caleb Williams' first year with we did it again, huh? 6, 7. This is Caleb Williams' first year with Ben Johnson, and this is Jordan Love's 3rd year with Matt LaFleur, and he doesn't have that contract extension. So I would say, yeah, the Packers should feel a bit more pressure. History says they should feel the pressure.
I only did that because I know how much it annoys Kevin.
My kids are too young to do the 6-7 thing, so it's not really.
No,
I will say,
not.
shout out to Pat Finley, friend of the program, friend of the McCaskies.
Where's our friend Patrick Finley?
I was at the Northwestern basketball game. Northwestern hit a free throw to get to 67.
Yeah.
The place erupted, and I looked at the Finley seats, and his son did not do the 6-7 thing.
Well, then you'll be very disappointed at James Hoge, who's done it on multiple jumbotrons over the last
I know
few months.
I think it drives Pat nuts. So that was why I took note.
That would be something that drives Pat nuts.
I think it's kind of funny.
I like it.
Yeah, but my kids don't do it. So, I don't know.
My son's taught my 3-year-old daughter to say it, so you're never too young.
Well, yeah, I got my 4-year-old's been doing it. I also heard I was working on our column last night, Johns, in my office, and I could hear Livy, my 4-year-old daughter, upstairs going, "If you don't know, now you know. It's Chicago." She said it
That's
like 10.
Adorable.
She said it like 10 times in a row. It was unbelievable. She's just walking around the house doing that. I'm like, that's phenomenal. All right. Let's get into that was the voice of Katie Langen, our awesome producer. She's going to jump in here. We got a couple of numbers that we do every week, our numbers that you should be thinking about.
Point is, those are some numbers.
And we're going to do it with Kevin this week.
Yeah. All right. First one, all courtesy of NextGen Stats. Caleb Williams has totaled 370 air yards on passes that were dropped by his receivers this season, the most in the NFL. Rookie running back Kyle Monangai leads the team with 5 drops, though Rome Odunze, Luther Burden, and Olamide Zaccheaus have each dropped 4 apiece. And as a team, the Bears have recorded 13 drops on downfield passes, 10-plus air yards, tied with the Buccaneers for the 3rd most in the NFL.
So I've mentioned this a couple times this week, and we mentioned it with Ross Tucker earlier in the show. I'll be honest, what I didn't even realize about that stat was that it was air yards, which means it doesn't even account for the yards after the catch.
The yak.
And I'm thinking about like a couple of those crossers, including that one to Olamide Zaccheaus back in Washington that looked like it was going to score if he catches it, because there was no help there. So as high as that number is, 370, Kevin, I think there's the argument that there could have been even more there for Caleb Williams.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that gives you hope, not just for Saturday, but for next season. Like in terms of like, there's going to be different conversations about regression, and one thing that could regress to the mean is fewer drops, and that's going to increase opportunities. And I don't know how much of it is like Caleb throws the ball too hard. That should not be it, or just some of these guys.
That is something he needs to learn, though. Like,
there are times
I've had that thought too a couple times.
Catch that first down, on that last drive on Sunday, but a more experienced quarterback also, and Brady pointed out on the broadcast immediately. You gotta yank that back just a little bit. Like,
right.
You're not
bigger spots.
You're not throwing a driver there. It should be like a nice wedge. You guys wide open. Give him the opportunity to catch it softly and run with it.
Yeah, and I think that's something that Caleb's going to learn. These receivers are going to learn. So, that was the thing. I think, was it San Francisco, Loveland? That was his first drop of the year. The one right in front of us in the press box on that final drive. That's been one of the amazing things about him, especially how often he's been targeted and how well he's sometimes covered, that he's caught everything thrown his way. But that's something that gives you kind of optimism that they can correct that easily.
And I would say that Loveland's probably been the one player who's handled the fastballs better than any receiver from Caleb Williams, because those third downs, those fourth down conversions, those are tight windows, and he is reeling that arm back and letting that ball go. And Loveland's come through. Guys, that's how close we came to covering a 4,000-yard receiver, by the way. Just a few drops. That's correct.
100%.
I believe it is. I'm not a math major.
Well, if they sustained that drive, he could have gotten a 4,000 on that last drive. Now, they probably would have been settling for field goals, so that would be the counter argument that they wouldn't. But there was enough yards still left on that field on that drive that he could have gotten there. So,
I mean, we haven't been beat reporters for 4,000-yard passers. We've covered a lot of them, all the guys that play the Bears over the years.
Well, including Jared Goff on Sunday.
Right.
Ooh. Does he have a 5,000 passing yard season?
Yes.
He does have one.
Yeah.
What's that like?
I think we're going to find out. I think Caleb's going to, I think if you really look at how the season went, if this continues to be a thing for the next couple of years, I'll be shocked. But we should know better. Okay. What's the next one, Katie?
All right, this is our last one. DJ Moore has aligned in the backfield on 33 snaps this season, 9 more than the next closest wide receiver, Deebo Samuel and Marvin Mims, 24 snaps each. Moore has gained 79 yards and converted 5 first downs, including a touchdown, across 15 designed wide receiver runs, the second most conversions, trailing only Malachi Corley with 6. He has run 20 routes from a backfield alignment, catching 5 of 6 targets for 36 yards.
So basically about half the time they put him back there, he gets the ball. Sometimes he's a decoy. That was something we saw a lot in training camp. It's always interesting to then find out how much it actually gets used in the regular season, right? That was something we were talking a lot about back in July and August, and then it turns out 33 snaps the entire season in the backfield.
I don't know what you should be.
Kevin has no thoughts.
Listen, there is nothing more confounding to me than the DJ Moore situation.
Mm-hmm.
Usage, production. Sometimes he comes up huge for them and
makes one of the greatest catches in franchise history.
Like he doesn't I don't. It's going to be a major question this offseason. Like I wish I had a better answer for it. The backfield thing's interesting though. Like I was eyebrows raised at those numbers. I did not know that, but yeah, I wish I had better answers for anything involving DJ Moore.
Yeah. I still think there's a place for him on this roster. Just we'll given the injury history just this season with Rome Odunze. You needed DJ Moore. But that contract is one thing. I don't think the Bears can get out of it, but I don't know. Am I wrong in saying that I think he's here next year for the full season?
Who wants to take that contract out?
Yeah, I think he probably is.
I don't see anybody who wants that contract, especially when you look at the numbers.
I also look, there's a couple things here that to me also matter. One is he was named the team's Walter Payton Man of the Year. So, I mean, that's a strong indication to me. And I don't think DJ Moore has ever been a guy behind one of these like diva wide receivers behind the scenes that's causing any kinds of trouble for the most part. Now that can be different from really what ultimately matters here is how Ben Johnson views him as a chess piece in his offense. I mean, that's what matters the most. The other piece of I want to bring this up, he's on the injury report right now with a knee injury, was limited in practice in their fake practice yesterday. They had a walkthrough. I wonder. No, I can already hear the people listening to this like, here's another excuse. Last week he was sick. This week, but Johns, you did point out he stepped funny on that deep ball. Now that I went back and watched it, I do want to push back on you a little bit. It was after he got boxed out. I think the contact is what made him step funny, but he did step funny. And there was another play near the sideline where he walked off. I don't know if you guys noticed it in the press box, but they showed it on TV. He walked off the field a little bit after stepping weird. So like most of these guys right now, it seems like he is one of the ones you put on the list of not 100% right now.
One thing I always say about DJ Moore, and Johns, you'll remember this because I think I wrote it a few times last year, he's never going to win the body language Olympics. And everyone just needs to accept that. He's just like, he is not going to be. Now, it's interesting considering that was a big thing Ben Johnson brought to the team when he got here. So those conversations I think might be interesting because that was a point of emphasis for Ben Johnson. And we talked about it in the lens of Caleb mainly, but we talked to DJ about it too when OTAs began, I believe. But yeah, I just always tell people like this is not like a body language. My favorite viral tweet, by the way, was after the first Packers loss. Someone like posted a video of DJ like looking like he was sulking, and I didn't respond to it, but I really want to respond like, yeah, that would be your reaction too if your team just lost on the final play of the game against your rival.
Oh, I remember that on the interception. Yeah. He kind of like walked off.
Yeah, like of course he was upset.
Yeah, that always makes me laugh too. Wouldn't you be mad if he wasn't upset? Because the other side of that is there are videos that go viral of the quarterback smiling when the team loses, right? Like so it's just you can't always win. I did not know that body language was a new event in the Olympics, though. But
yeah, he's not a contender for the medal stand.
Okay. Jay Cutler, maybe. Remember that conversations?
Oh, yeah.
DJ Moore has been on the field for 85% of the Bears' offensive snaps this season. That is down from 94% last year.
Interesting. They've also, I think that's also scheme related too. I mean, all the 13 personnel they've been running at times. They had that package early in the season where they were in 12 personnel with Olamide and Burden out there, where Rome and DJ were both off the field. So that was another. These got these little packages. So, but yeah.
Do you guys want a number from me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Is it 6-7?
It is not.
Okay.
So I believe you're familiar with the phrase "one is the loneliest number." One quarterback hit the Bears have logged in 3 of their past 5 games. They hit Jalen Hurts once. They hit Jordan Love in Lambeau once. They hit Brock Purdy once. And I'm going to bring up another game. The home game against the Packers, they only had 1 quarterback hit for 59 minutes and 30 seconds of that game. Montez Sweat got hit number 2 on the final play of regulation, and then they hit Willis twice in overtime. but they had one hit on Love and Willis combined until the final snap of regulation. So you can then throw in 4 of the last 5 games, 1 quarterback hit. It goes back to my reasons for pessimism. And if you go back through Jordan Love, through all of his games against the Bears, it's been the number one problem. They cannot get to him. So yeah, I think if we're wrapping things up, I think it's good to wrap on a very uplifting note like that.
Well, and so now I'll be one of the people in the Athletic. What do you call it? The room, your live room, your live room. Talking about the offseason, because I would bet my life that they are either trading for somebody like Max Crosby or using their first round draft pick on an edge rusher. One of those two is happening.
You need somebody. Yeah, you just need help up there. And now look, I will open the door for can Montez Sweat. Like, this is the moment for a guy like him. And he had a good season, but like this is the time that your guys, your Sweat, your Grady Jarrett, like you just need these guys to come through.
Oh yeah.
Kevin, great stuff. We'll be reading you in the Athletic, of course, and checking out Breaking In with Jeff Joniak this week. Good week for that. Good planning by you. You've done a good job planning that podcast. I give you a lot of credit.
Ridiculous planning.
And I think some things have broken your way with the planning too. A little bit.
They have. And I'll say this for fans of Chicago sports radio from like 1986 through 1994 are going to love it, because Joniak name drops just about every single person who worked in Chicago sports radio during that decade.
That's amazing. Did he give Mark Carman credit for his Bears play-by-play career? Because he refuses to do this, and Carm wants full credit.
He did not. Interestingly enough, because as you guys know, Joniak is a perfectionist. He texted me seconds after we finished recording because there was one name he left out that he wanted to mention.
Who is that name? Can you tell us?
Yeah, because I actually said it in my conclusion of the pod. Drew Hayes.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Drew Hayes hired me to do some stuff at BBM back in the day.
There you go. So yes, Jeff Joniak, Breaking In. Subscribe on YouTube. Happy to be on with you guys for a playoff game.
Well,
maybe this one will go better than the last playoff game I talked to you guys about.
Hope so.
Yeah, Jesus. We all do. All right, we'll let the Joniak stuff live on the pod. Go listen to it. Kevin, thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Whether it's on the field or in your financial life, the best teams win by delivering excellence at every level. That's what the Bears are striving for in the playoffs, right? Got to get it at every single level, every single phase. See if they can put it together.
In the playoffs.
That's right. At Old National Bank, they also believe, like Ben Johnson, every play matters. And it will matter against the Packers for sure. From everyday checking to long-term planning and commercial banking, Old National Bank is here to build momentum and help you move the ball forward. So whether you're celebrating a win, rebuilding after a tough loss, or gearing up for whatever comes next, Old National Bank's got your back with tools, guidance, and an expert crew that's always in your corner. I can't wait to see you driving down the Kennedy, see the big side. I can't wait to see what it says on Saturdays. I'm driving down for the tailgate because there's going to be something clever up there.
It's going to be good.
It's going to be, yesterday was 300. It says 353 days until Christmas. I thought that was funny. Old National Bank, where relationships and results matter. Member FDIC.
And Adam, if you're like me, you're looking for a winter getaway after this football season ends, after the Super Bowl. Maybe the Bears will be in it, but I'm looking at Sand Valley. Sand Valley is not just golf. It's a year-round experience, whether you're planning a weekend trip for two, like I am, an adventure for your small group, or a memorable family getaway. Sand Valley is the perfect winter destination. Spend your days snowshoeing across peaceful trails, fat tire biking, ice skating on their pond, or laughing your way down their sledding hill. Feel competitive? Try court tennis, the original and oldest of all the racket sports, dating back more than 900 years. And when the cold sets in, Sand Valley's restaurants and bars are there for you. So Sand Valley offers year-round winter escape, blending adventure, comfort, and unique experiences. Go to sandvalley.com today. Book your trip at sandvalley.com. today.
All right, we'll close out the show with some coaching search stuff, GM search stuff, because we'll keep it to what matters for the Bears. While we don't necessarily, we're on the other side of this year, Johnsy. It's not about the Bears hiring. It's about them potentially losing some guys. Most notable and perhaps most likely seems to be Ian Cunningham might finally get his opportunity with the Falcons. Now, the it's interesting because it was kind of already reported that Matt Ryan was lined up for this president job, but they are interviewing other people for this gig. So I don't know if that's just fulfilling the requirements that need to be done for these jobs, but we'll see. I think if Matt Ryan gets that job, it would make Ian Cunningham a very, very strong candidate to finally get that coveted general manager job that he's been looked at for a few years now in a row. And that would, if he accepted the job, give the Bears the 2 third-round picks that they would get, one in each of the next 2 drafts as compensation for losing him.
What team did he turn down? Was it the Arizona Cardinals?
Yes.
A couple of years ago. And now the Arizona Cardinals are about to run, I think, their second coaching search.
Yeah. So he turned that down. They ended up hiring Monty Ossenfort, who hired Jonathan Gannon. And Gannon lasted 3 seasons, and now he's on his second coach already. It's kind of funny how fast these things go.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Here's another name to think about. This is from Jory Epstein from Yahoo Sports. A name that makes sense for Lions offensive coordinator. Bears offensive coordinator, Declan Doyle. A colleague of both have called him another Ben Johnson. Worked in New Orleans with Dan Campbell. What do you think about that?
Well, and I believe he worked with Ben Johnson this year. I think that makes a lot of sense for the Lions, if I'm being honest. If I'm trying to, it's funny. They end up being right up there in rushing and total offense and points scored, and Jared Goff threw for 4,000 yards again, all these things. And yet the storyline all year was something's missing, something's off, something's not clicking here. They missed Ben Johnson. They missed the piece that put it all together, that knew how to basically, I mean, it might just really come down to play calling and knowing how to sequence these stuff. Now, that would be the one question, obviously, with Declan Doyle, because he's not the play caller. So I understand the idea of kind of chasing Ben Johnson, and I'm sure Dan Campbell would like to, stick it to the Bears a little bit by, I don't know if it's exactly revenge or whatever you want to call it, but okay, you left there. Now we're going to take your guy. But yeah, there would be a little bit of unknown on now. Declan, I have to say, it's been very impressive this year with him. And it was kind of an out of the box hire, 28-year-old tight ends coach who, hadn't been an OC before. But he's seemingly been the perfect complement to Ben Johnson.
Now, this would be a role that Declan Doyle would have to grow into. Like, personally, I think maybe he's a year or 2 away from a job. Maybe he would like to learn from Ben Johnson a little bit more, but I think Dan Campbell can help with that. Dan Campbell turned over his offense to young Ben Johnson, and that seemed to work out well for him. And obviously, Dan Campbell could help. He just called play calls this year, and Declan Doyle would come with the endorsement of Ben Johnson and also Sean Payton, who absolutely loved him, in Denver and previously in New Orleans.
Yeah, if offered that job, that'd be a kind of a tough call for Declan, because he is an OC already, but he doesn't have the play calling. And I always think about how Matt LaFleur people forget he went to Tennessee for a year to call plays before he got hired as head coach. And Declan's name's already come up as like a future head coach because of how fast he's kind of rising. But, we've seen the other side of that in Chicago too, where you hire Matt Nagy, who didn't really have much play calling experience. And as I went through my big manifesto last year on how to hire a head coach, that play calling experience matters. It's great to hire a guy who's an offensive coach and pair it with a quarterback, but if they don't have a proven track record of actually running their own scheme and calling the plays, it tends to fail. So if I'm Declan Doyle trying to think about becoming a head coach someday, I would like to have that play calling experience before I do it.
Declan Doyle wouldn't be the first right-hand man of a head coach / offensive play caller to leave for such an opportunity. I actually think it's quite common because, well, Matt LaFleur is a great example because they need that experience. They want that experience. They want to do it. And he's not doing it here in Chicago. Now I just think it's a matter of timing for Declan Doyle if these opportunities arise across the league as these head coaching vacancies are filled.
Well, and even look at Matt Nagy. Nagy, he's his contract expires here. Now he's got 3 interviews lined up already for head coaching opportunities. Dan Pompei had a great story on him, and I'd actually encourage Bears fans to read it at some point. Maybe if you want to wait till the season's over, I would understand. But he talks a lot about what went wrong in Chicago, so it's super interesting. But if he doesn't get a head coaching job, I wonder if he would go for an OC job where he's actually calling the plays somewhere else. Because to me, in hiring Matt, that would be the one thing I'm still kind of caught up on. Like
Eric,
you've been in one system, and when you did your experience calling the plays in Chicago, it didn't go well. So I think he's somebody that if he doesn't get a head coaching job, could actually use going somewhere else, running his own offense, and showing that he can do it.
It's what Eric Bieniemy did.
It didn't go well, though.
I know, to change his resume, but these are the experiences coaches pursue as they try to grow their own careers.
Right. So, that Declan Doyle thing will be something to watch. It's interesting. Trying to look at it from the Lions' perspective. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. So, all right. Well, this has been a long episode. We need to get out of here. Appreciate Ross Tucker joining us. Appreciate Kevin Fishbain. And we will be back on Friday to preview this game more in depth. Matt Schneidman will join us, figure out everything that's going on with the Packers, who are getting healthier. There's no doubt about that. And we'll have a much better idea Friday because with the Saturday game, the last injury report comes out on Thursday. So we will kind of have everything pretty much set in stone, except for any game time decisions when we record on Friday morning. Should be a really good, fun Bears-Packers preview episode. Make sure you hit the like button on the way out. Subscribe. We greatly appreciate you being here. It's a playoff week. Try to enjoy it as much as you possibly can. I get the nervousness.